Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the Clallam EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. We're excited to have our friend and partner, Bill Dowling from the Olympic Workforce Development Council, join us this morning. Thanks for joining us, Bill. And he's got a presentation about what the Olympic Workforce Development Council does and what their mission is and how they support training and job support throughout Clallam, Jefferson, and Kitsap counties. Before we have him take it away, there's a few items. If you'll please keep yourself on mute, or I will mute you in case you've missed that. And if you have questions, we like it to be interactive, so you can either put your questions in the chat or alternatively, and I'll ask them, or you can raise your hand and ask Bill the questions yourself. So yeah, Bill, how many years have you been on at that position?
Just 3 years, Colleen. Just
Three
3 years
years.
I've been here.
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he's been a breath of fresh air. I was a little frustrated with the OWDC for a while, but he just really gets it and understands all sorts of complexities, especially with apprenticeships. And you know why we have specific challenges up here. So just really glad to have him as a partner in that seat, that regional seat that serves our area. And he's done a great job with partnering with Peninsula College as well. So thanks for all you do, Bill, and please take it away.
Well, thank
And
you, Colleen.
this is recorded and we'll have it up on our website later today if you want to share it with anybody.
Awesome. I'm going to start the slides from the beginning here, hopefully. There we go. So yeah, well, great. Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate that. Again, I'm Bill Dowling. I'm lucky to be the director of the Olympic Workforce Development Council. I just wanted to talk a little bit first, kind of beginning, kind of to set the stage on what workforce development councils do. In general, why they're called that here in Washington. They are called workforce development boards elsewhere. But basically, as it says here, they're the cornerstone of the public workforce system, that workforce is delivered locally. It's authorized under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, as we sometimes refer to it as, bringing together business, labor, education, community organizations, and government to guide these regional decisions about priorities in workforce and oversee investments in talent development. There are 12 local workforce development boards here in Washington, or councils, each responsible for defined geographical area. We'll show a little map after a little bit later in the presentation. So there are really five functions I like to say that boards do. First, regional and leadership strategy. We convene the employers and educators and everyone in the community to align strategies to address this. A lot of work with our community college partners, especially, but also with our EDCs, looking at what the local needs are. Oversight and accountability. We manage our local American job centers in Washington. We refer to those as worksource offices. We have two in our region that I'll talk a little bit about later. Of course, Worksource Clallam and Worksource Kitsap are our two offices, but we also offer services throughout the region via itinerant presence at various opportunities. Business solutions, another thing we do. We support companies through recruitment, training, and retention. We work a lot individual. We have a lot of OJTs, or on-the-job training, incumbent worker training, apprenticeships, as Colleen mentioned, rapid response, which is, of course, a layoff situation, and then shared work. We also bring some strategies around that. Finally, efficiency and effectiveness. The whole idea is to streamline the workforce investments by reducing duplication, making sure that we're aligning our regional and state strategies and ensuring that resources are used where they have the greatest impact. And then lastly, but certainly not least, innovation and investment. Innovation is in the title of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act because it's our job to try and be as innovative in strategies. That's why workforce is local, and local workforce works, we like to say. There are 12 boards across Washington covering all the counties. Leaders of the workforce system are integrated as American Job Centers, and finally, the business-led governance. A majority of our board, 51%, must be from not private for-profit businesses or private businesses. Just a little bit of the information of what we serve here in Washington, a little bit matter. We serve over 20,000 job seekers annually Over $136 million in annual wages are generated by those placements. Getting folks back to work or into a great job or a living wage job is a big part of what we do. Over 6 million in estimated state and local taxes are generated. We have a really great ROI. I think that other programs are jealous of because our ROI is really a yearly ROI, right? It returns those tax dollars immediately. The average duration that folks spend on our programs is around 5 months. There are some that are certainly longer than that, but that average 5 months where folks move from around $10,000 or less per year to over $70,000 a year in wages. So it's really a huge difference, especially when it's coupled with some of the programs I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Over 82 million investment and benefit savings from job seekers moving off of public assistance. Here's just a little map of our area. Our area as compared to the others. We are workforce development area #1. I always like to focus on that. I'm proud to be #1. We want to stay that way. But no, if you look around, there are several that are single counter areas. King, Pierce, and Spokane are those three areas that are single county, and the rest are, oh, excuse me, and Snohomish as well. The rest are actually broken into various regions of 3 or more counties. Um, this is actually just a quick little map of how our dollars flow. So almost all the dollars we receive, except for state dollars, come from the U.S. Department of Labor. We have been allocated our funds. Currently we have a drawdown that we do as a federal basis through the state, and so all of our money actually comes through the governor's office and then through Employment Security Department. We also receive funding from the U.S. from the State Department of Commerce as well, including our community reinvestment dollars and our economic security for all dollars that pass through. But they also pass through ESD as well, or Employment Security Department. They provide not only funding, but oversight, technical policy assistance, and such. Those dollars flow to our chief elected officials, which comprise a board together with all 3 counties, each having one representative on that board, and they help to make the decisions together by appointing our board members in our workforce development board or our workforce development council here. They make sure that the partnerships are working well, sign and emphasize our MOUs between organizations, and then provide oversight as well. We're responsible for providing that oversight against our contractors. We contract out all of our services. We do not operate any services ourselves. We currently are contracted with 2 organizations in our region, the Employment Security Department, who is our funder as well, but they also are our contractor in this case for our WIOA and our Economic Security for All Partners programs. And then we also contract with ESD 114, the school district, educational service district for our youth program, which focuses on young people 16 to 22.
So
So why do
question for
we
you,
ask?
Bill.
Yeah.
Um, that last slide was really interesting, and I serve on your board, and so thank you for the education. I've always known the funding stream was so complex, but and so how many of the other 12 workforce development councils end up contracting with ESD to provide work source services?
I think
Is
there are
that
only
really typical?
No, it used to be more typical. I think it's gone down in the last, as everywhere, it's a competitive bid process. We had a competitive bid 2 years ago, and ESD
Mhm.
was the winner again. We did have 4 organizations actually bid. Two of those 3 were for-profit organizations, which include a for-profit picture in their bid. And then the other one was another not-for-profit that was located over in Spokane area. So we had a review team and they went through the RFP and we chose to use ESD again. It makes it a little easier than some areas where you have multiple contractors because ESD is always the operator of what we call Wagner Pizer services, or those job services of placement, our online database, things like that. Those are going to be provided by ESD no matter what. So if you have a provider for WIOA and your other services in there that's different, they have to work together to figure out how those services are delivered. It makes it a little easier with us, and it's a single stream. But I believe there are only 2 areas left now, maybe 3, where ESD has the contracts for the adult and dislocated worker programs as well.
Huh, interesting.
So yeah,
All
not
right,
not as
thanks.
many as there once was. for
Got
sure.
it. That is a weird setup that they're your funder, the money flows through them, and yet you do a request for proposals and hire them as your
Right.
contractor.
Yeah, it is. They are separated into two little separate divisions internally. We
Hmm.
kind of refer to it as big ESD and little ESD. We contract with little ESD, which is the Workforce Connections division,
Hmm.
and so they just provide those services a little differently. So they don't always get their way. You'd think they would, and sometimes, and they even disagree with each other on billing and a variety of things. We were told a while ago, well, you're having a problem getting your bills in on time, and you need to have them in by this date. And we were like, that's because you can't get them to us on time. So it does make sometimes for a bit of a sticky wicket. And yeah, it does allow
That
us a
was
little bit of
probably a
leverage.
fun conversation to
Right,
have.
right, right. We agree. Get your act together, is really what we end up saying. So, yeah, and it is difficult sometimes dealing business with a large state agency, but we also know that it's really about the people on the ground, and we've been really blessed to have wonderful employees in our WorkSource system for a long time, and really appreciate the great work that they do. So why do we matter? For businesses, boards are a one-stop partner in recruiting talent, upskilling workers, and navigating economic transitions, things like layoffs. We assist with those. We did with the paper plant last year, and any of those types of opportunities, we're there on the front line trying to provide services to workers who are affected. For workers and job seekers, again, we access to training, career pathways. We don't just send folks to training. If we just sent folks to training and that's all we did, we probably wouldn't be any more effective than a career than a community colleges, which is often quite effective, but it's really around maybe a 40% graduation completion rate. We end up with about a 78% completion rate, and part of that is really attaching an individual to the person who's going through that training, to stand with them, to help them with things that come up. If something happens and they feel like quitting, we're there to say, hey, we've got some dollars to get you through, some childcare support, some whatever it might be, everything from transportation to childcare to food supports, anything we can do to make sure the person can persist to get to that job, that's really the outcome. It's the training's not the outcome. The greater learning is not the outcome. The outcome is really always based on that great job that they can get at the end of all of that. And then finally, for communities, we align those regional strategies with our state and federal goals to achieve that shared outcome of accountability. Sorry. This is our little logo here. I just put our purpose and our mission here, but really, it's supposed to be about using data that we have. And so, really, my next section is about data for you and kind of looking as a deep dive into Clallam and some of our workforce data. So, just a general economic overview that we like to show, and this others might think that this is more fitting of a different organization. This actually comes to us. Lucy Bench from my team was able to put this together for me and for us today, which is using our Lightcast data to kind of forecast and look at what the region's economy is looking like, at least from our side. So, as of 24, the population has increased about 0.2% since 2019. It's a slow growth to population. Jobs have increased by about 4.2% in a similar period from 2019 to 2024. This change is a little short of the 4.3%, but not terrible from the total of Washington itself. Um, 2.9% below the national average is really what we're dealing with of our educational attainment. So we're not getting the kind of educational attainment we were hoping for in the county as much. About 18.6% of residents possess a bachelor's degree or a bachelor's degree, and 12.4% an associate's degree. Again, about 3.5% below the national average. The top industries are local government, which excludes education and hospitals. Excuse me, excluding education and hospitals. And then education and hospitals also are part of that top jobs, as well as restaurants and other eating places.
So will you
Hmm.
go back to that last slide?
Sure.
So we're predicting that our population in Clallam County is going to decrease um, through 2029.
That
I
is
mean,
correct.
yeah, so we have, of course, kids leaving because there aren't good jobs.
Hmm.
And we have people, our average age is older. So typically, you've got more deaths. But we also have an inflow of in-migration because it's a nice place to retire. But what's driving, and so that's typically what's driven the increase of population over the years. Why is that expected to fall off going forward if our population has been increasing?
Right. Well, yeah, the aging is, of course, the number one region. The aging population will hit a larger aging group that's coming out of of those who will be leaving the workforce and coming out of the area. But also the cost of the area is
Yeah.
significantly
Okay.
increasing. And so, as we were talking before this started about housing, that's a big part of that. And why folks might choose, as you said, it's been a big area for folks coming for retirement. However, those on a fixed income might not see that as an affordable area to continue to want to choose.
Okay.
Would be part
And
of
what
it.
was the source of this? Was that
We
OFM?
use Lightcast,
Lightcast.
yeah, Lightcast just is putting together all the BLS and other federal data points.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you.
hmm So this is again kind of diving a little bit more into the population, just so you have a little bit of information. Population here on the left side and the right side, the educational attainment, just to kind of see where we're landing in a little bit of a greater breakdown in that. Labor force is what I want to put the folks that are not in the labor force. This is what Recompete was all about, really, right? That 16 plus age group there, the 36,000 folks who are not in the labor force, not just the 1,000, the 1,300 folks who are unemployed, but really all the folks that are not engaging in the labor force. And so Recompete sends a special laser-like focus on those the working age groups that are not in the labor force and how we can have them re-engage in the labor force. There's a lot of speculation about what that means and why folks are not engaged. There's a lot of part-time workers we know, folks who are just interested in working just enough to get by, but not enough for need for the community itself. In other words, we need folks working full-time in so many of these jobs. And that's a little bit part of that. Here's just a little bit of an unemployment and trends that we have here over the past years. We can see that unemployment kind of creeping up here, the job trends here. Jobs have increased by 2.4%. This change fell short of again the national growth rate of 4.3, but not tremendously. But it is continued. It is predicted to continue to grow in the number of jobs that will be available, and so that's still which is leaving us out of some issues, obviously. It's leaving us out of some important times. So here's just a little snapshot on population characteristics that I thought was interesting. This is that part about retiring soon. You can see here quite a bit larger here than we would hope for in the USA, a larger group of those folks. We are less racially diverse than other communities of a likewise size. We have a smaller number of millennials in the area as well. We do have a very large population of veterans. I think we know that the veterans have always had a larger share in our population, which has been a great help. And it's just the way the area is located and the Navy jobs certainly that come from nearby as well.
So,
Violent crime
quickly,
statistics.
Bill,
Mhm,
is
yeah,
that this is a snapshot still of just Clallam, or is
it's
this
just
for the
this,
region?
no, this is just Clallam. All the information,
Okay.
most of all the information I'm providing
Okay,
is
got it. Yeah. I
yeah,
just met with the I'm a veteran, so I met with the veteran service officer.
yeah.
Anyway, he was telling me that there's about 12,000 veterans in Clallam County.
Okay. Well, this is a little, our numbers would come a little differently. I don't know how that's being calculated.
Yeah,
This is simply from BLS, so
got it.
do we have listed, but
Which is survey based, which is an estimate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Again, property crime being lower than average, various things. There's a little bit. This is just talking about our industry characteristics and the top growing industries right here. And I think no surprise here that we see that. We know that government is the largest industry by far. But as we look over here to the right, really the industry job growth, what we're seeing job growth, administrative and support and waste management and remediation and other services really is the largest growth area that we have of those jobs. No surprise there. I mean, Colleen, we've talked about the needs in accounting and various things like that that we've been underskilled in or undersourced in for quite a while. But just to kind of look through here as we see, we don't have a lot of focus on our retail. We know it's coming without it. It's kind of like the tourism. We don't have to put a lot of interest in there. In a sense, it's a very, very powerful um, group within, excuse me, industry within our community. And so we see that as being there, right, without having to do other work. But I was interested in just seeing some of these, how important they were, and really what the industry job growth was showing. Top industry employment concentration, rag ag forestry, and then again back to government and then retail trade are those top. But other services really coming in except public administration. So there's a lot of service oriented jobs. And construction is reigning rarely strong here, which is good to see, both on the top industry earnings. It's still in the top 10, and it's also an important focus on what we need. And we know that the trades themselves are super important to our area, and for going forward, important to continue to focus on and look toward as well. These are the actual companies that employ workers in the area, with the top companies, both for this is looking at both their employment and their job postings. In other words, how many unique postings they have for positions open. And I will tell you that I don't think Olympic Medical Center posts all of their positions. It would be unusual for them to post them all. And so they may have, 20 openings for nurses, but only post 3 or 4. That's not unusual to be able to see. Again, employment statistics put into the college, the state of Washington, Coldwell Banker and the bank here coming into that top ones, and then finally rounding off with Clallam County. And then on the job postings, again, we don't see as many as high. The job postings tend to be by service industry here and retail trade.
I, I can't believe Coldwell Banker would have 163 employees. That must be a mistake. I mean, we've got 2 offices in the county, but even so, there are not that many agents, brokers, that
Right. I don't
just
know how
can't be
many.
accurate.
I don't know how many are active brokers, or how many are attached to the center as it was. That's my
Yeah,
that's
it's
the way
not
it's
anywhere near
listed.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Might be the way it's listed. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, occupations by job growth and employment concentration. I think the job growth really seeing protective services is listed as the number one, with this is predicted job growth of needs, as well as business and financial operations, which we've talked about, transportation, and then healthcare. Finally, the last two kind of coming in together. On the occupation employment concentration side, I think it's fairly clear here. We can see they're fairly matching what the jobs that are the top occupations that are being open. Earnings wise, obviously management jobs usually pay the most. Top posted occupations kind of focusing over there of healthcare practitioners, but right behind here, healthcare, legal, computer and mathematical architecture and engineering, just higher earnings, with our low earnings coming down, really focusing down in here in personal care services, military only, which is interesting to see as a low wage occupation. And then finally, building maintenance, kind of rounding that out as the lower earnings occupations. Largest occupations, office and administrative support, food prep, sales and related. I don't know where you want to find any of these in here, but it's a pretty complete list, just kind of where we're looking, and it kind of follows also the wages in those jobs as well. Um, So I want to talk a little bit about what we used our funds for today. So just to get a little bit back, one of the things that I mentioned at the very beginning that we do is on-the-job training through our contractor, Employment Security Department. We do on-the-job training and internships, and these are just some of the ones that we've done. Now, this is throughout the region. These are, but we'll be able to see where some of these are located, like the media technician that we placed up at Field Hall that started, but it resulted in a job placement, which is always the best we can do. And you'll see these where they were just paid internships for some of our youth programs that might be having there. And sometimes they result in a full-time job as placed afterwards. Sometimes it takes more time. Person might have an additional on-the-job training after they've actually had um, a placement as a internship. These are paid. We do not have any unpaid internships that we host or promise. It just doesn't fit with our funding schema. And so the youth programs pay a minimum wage actually, and so it's more difficult to get folks to take those jobs sometimes at those minimum wage jobs. But once they're placed, those wages obviously raise to a higher level. So just a little bit of a look of some of the folks within we even had a couple in the city, at the city of Squim within the IT and the planning department. And I thought that was interesting that we've been able to have an interesting different groups. Then finally, we have a few more of the on-the-job training. Now, this is a 6-month on-the-job training in businesses, mostly private businesses, but we do have not-for-profit businesses and others that are able to participate in this as well. But you'll see here just a little bit. We had a couple of folks. We had a person hired at the Port Townsend Leader. A donor relations manager was trained and hired at the Field Hall. 2 retail workers at Edensaw, construction foreman at Habitat for Humanity. I believe that was in Kitsap. 3 marine systems operations, operations manager, student services at the Wooden Boat School. So really very helpful to these groups as well. And then finally, a couple of production and assembly workers at ACI Boats that were hired. And then 1 into an apprenticeship program. This is a small apprenticeship that was a hairstylist. It was an individual completion apprenticeship. We have not had any at our new apprenticeship, I think, that come through us yet with Frederickson Electric, but I hope that will be. I know we're in conversations already about helping folks get into that apprenticeship program.
So, Bill, there's a
Yep.
question in the chat. How is it that protective services seems to be such a vibrant job sector? And I know, so we've got 2 companies that are headquartered here,
Mhm.
one being Northwest Security Services, where
Yep.
Justine Wagner used to be the vice president of, and then there's Puget Sound Executive Services, owned by Bob Riendo. And when I've talked to ESD about this before, they said, "Oh, your like second largest employer is Puget Sound Executive Services in Clallam County." And I said, "No, no. I mean, they're headquartered here because there's no B&O tax." But and I think the owner and they have 3 employees that live here, but all of the rest of their employees are work in security services contracts over in the I-5 corridor.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Justine, if you can share how many of the employees of Northwest Security Services actually work and live in Clallam County. I know they've got contracts all over the US,
Yeah,
but
at Security Services, actually a pretty large amount of the employees do work within Clallam County, but it's because they have multiple sectors to their business. So they have the alarm installation and monitoring, they have patrol services, they have site security, they have remote monitoring, and then they have all of the admin jobs in Clallam County. So I would say probably a third of their overall staff, and that's an estimate, but work and live in Clallam County, and the other 2/3 work and live in the Seattle area, the Portland area, the San Francisco area, kind of those major cities and other states.
But the way ESD counts things is based on the number of employees and then where is it headquartered, and then they place all the employees into the headquarters location. So anyway, that's the answer, Paul, to your question.
Mm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead, Bill. Thank
No,
you.
no, no. I think that's very interesting, and because it does skew the data sometimes. I mean, data is as good as it can be connected to. So this is just a little bit. Speaking of data, just a little bit of just general dashboard information about who we see in our service provisions and our outreach to the individuals who are actually coming in for services, how they identify. About 13% military veteran. This is throughout the region here. Which is good to see. That is a higher level than most areas get with their veteran population. And it's what priority population always. Individual person with a disability around 22%, which seems rather high for our area as well. But we do have larger populations, especially of individuals with blind and vision impairments. For some reason, it's a high area for those individuals as well, the service area. So here, just a little bit comparing the 2 services and what we do. We use this, we call the customer flow tracker. This is individuals who come into the WorkSource Center for assistance, and we track them into various things of what they're looking at. So it's interesting to see Clallam and Jefferson. This is out of WorkSource Clallam and Squim. 1,353 people received one-on-one.
Right.
Oh,
What?
sorry. Oh, someone wasn't on mute. My fault.
Oh, okay. 1353 received one-on-one job assistance, utilizing those work source receipts. Our peak days are Mondays at 2 o'clock. Who would have thought, right? But when you track down data, you can get to figure that out so we can staff up better. 20% delivered by phone. 38% of our services in Clallam County are delivered by video. And then finally, 42% by in-person. Video services, that's really how we serve a lot of folks in Jefferson County as well, that they access through our Clallam County or video services. But you'll notice the numbers in Kitsap are even higher at 40% of those services delivered by video still. This is just a holdover from the pandemic. We found that many people still continue to want to receive services by video. This is really for classroom classes that we offer. A lot of these are based throughout the state, and they can be able to take those classes where no matter where they're being offered, they're able to take them online. And so it's really a good benefit for them as well that these are still great resources that are being offered. And then looking down to Kitsap there, you see the difference. Their peak days are Wednesdays at 11 a.m. I don't know what the difference is. You know, other than that, they kind of match up a little bit. Then finally, just talks a little bit about our partners here that we work with. Obviously, the colleges, West Sound STEM, OASD 114, which, as I mentioned, Kitsap Community Resources, still a big partner of ours down in South Kitsap. And that's just a little bit of our info. So that was all the slides that I had to share today. We went through faster than I thought, but I wanted to take an opportunity for questions and other info that I could provide today.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Bill? Now's the time. Calvin. Okay, he's got to go to a meeting. Thanks for joining us, Calvin. Let's see. Okay, great. Dale,
Really?
go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for this, Bill. We are getting rolling on the new CTE Center, Career Technical Education Center building at the Sequim School District. The planning is starting. One of the questions that was asked by the project management team that's been hired to help was, has the outlook for what kind of jobs that are needed related to a CTE program in the Sequim School District, has the outlook changed since you worked on the report a few years ago? And I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that question.
I received that same question from Regan, Dale.
Oh, she was in the same meeting.
Yeah.
Craig.
You know, we're still seeing those occupations in demand. In fact, I was just looking at the in-demand list today, and we work to alleviate that. So the board itself, just so you're aware, we actually have the responsibility to review the occupations in demand list every day, to look and listen to local data and local leaders about what is the reality of, and we go through that. So we sit together with folks from Peninsula, from the school districts group as they interface with us through OASD. But also with other players in the region, economic development and others, to figure out if that is accurate or not when we get that list. And we make changes to that list. We can switch a job from not in demand to in demand or neutral. And part of the reason why we do that is to ensure that those who are in training are going to be able to continue and persist in that training. We're able to continue to pay for that. But also because we know that the reality of on the ground is not always accurately reflected, as Colleen just pointed out, in data and what the data is, and it may not be as accurate. And so we want to talk with those leaders. So we will go and speak with folks at Peninsula College and go, oh, we have 3 employers that are looking to start up this program. We know that it's needed. And so in the same way, when those construction sector and other jobs, if the data is not telling us that on a statewide level, we certainly have made that change to make sure that those are listed as in-demand occupations still. And we know that employers are still hiring, and especially hiring in the numbers that you're going to be producing within that program. So I would say we're happy to run data anytime, but we also use that data, use other data to inform our decisions, and that data is really talking to employers and listening to our partners about what's happening.
And I would add, Dale, the recompete programs really focused on forest products, maritime, and construction. And that's where the higher wage jobs are and that are needed, and we expect growth. There's also going to be growth in retail. There will be growth in hospitality, but those, hospitality is more seasonal. You're not going to get full time. You're not going to get, typically, you won't have benefits. So where we're focusing, but of course, it's a paycheck, and that's important to that person and family that has that position.
100%.
So, but where we're really trying to focus to create high wage jobs is in those three sectors of maritime and forest products, and then construction. Especially we're working on we'd love to see a manufacturing facility for modular houses, and that would meet Washington State Building Code and that would meet Washington State Energy Code. So we're transitioning funding that we received to explore that opportunity and try to get investors and get that actually stood up. So,
That's a
and that
great,
would be a huge, array of skill sets that are needed. And then hopefully the supply chain could support it as well. Roy.
Thanks for the presentation. I guess so in this construction kind of category, are you, and I think you started off by mentioning, I think you started by mentioning you're at a workforce gathering in Yakima. The question is, are you and or your workforce peers tracking the governor's initiative on offsite construction? And really the intention to beef that form of housing production up?
Yes, I think that actually what Colleen was just mentioning about the ability to have prefabrication of building products, being able to then quickly assemble housing and such, and that's really had a huge statewide liftoff, and we are tracking that. And I think in our area we also are. Our last meeting was just up at the Composite Recycling and Technology Center, and of course we know the kind of work that they've been doing with that, and how that might expand to to more in our area. But to meet the housing needs, the workforce housing needs, I'd just like to say, without looking at anything else, we really do have to ramp up that kind of opportunity. And we are looking at that and the training needed to be able to provide that, to provide workers to that regional effort.
And just yesterday we had a presentation by housing experts, and which included Bruce Emery, Director of Community Development from the county, the Community Development Manager of the City of Port Angeles, and then also the same from the City of Sequim. And all of them said that a huge portion, I don't remember how many, I think 67 in the county, a big number of the building permits that they had issued were for manufactured homes. And so, that's because that's the answer to lower priced housing for our community. That's the only way it can really be done. And it's hard to find land that allows that because so often a development will say no manufactured homes allowed in the CC&Rs. So anyway, we're hoping that modular that meets Washington State Building Code can be a solution to some of our housing needs locally and beyond. So Stephen had a question in the chat. He says remote workers are supposedly 15% of the job market. When we did our survey of people in grocery stores in 2021, I believe, you tried to make it really random, went to grocery stores across the county. We found that it was about 8% of the population that we surveyed were remote workers. But according to your charts, segments like office, admin, business, finance, operations, etc., large, fast growing, and higher earning, are we seeing an increase in job placements from employers outside the area for remote work?
No, I would not say we're not seeing an increase, especially with current numbers. We're seeing fewer opportunities for folks. There's been larger layoffs within the remote worker sectors as well, especially from the tech industries. And there's only so many industries that can do remote work, right? And that was a large portion of it was the tech workers. And so since we've seen the effects of AI just beginning on that industry, I think we're going to see that be even more impacted. Folks that dream of those remote work opportunities are really just dreaming in many cases. There's not the kind of opportunities that they might have hoped for. I'm not saying there's not at all. Well, we do find folks going into more self-employment opportunities for remote work if they're interested in contracting work, 1099 kind of income and such, then there's more opportunities that way. But for actual employees of a company being remote, we're not seeing an increase, in fact, seeing a slight decrease to that, at least in the number of jobs that are being posted for that.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Does anyone else have any further questions for Bill? This has really been a great presentation, and I think we've got those slides. I'd love to take
Yeah.
share it and be able to spend a little bit more time looking at those and work with you on them and share our thoughts.
Awesome.
So we really appreciate you doing this, Bill, and tell your staff thank you for gathering the data
Oh, God.
on your behalf. Really good stuff. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. Oh, Micah says, I looked into prefab a couple years back and banks were reluctant to lend on a single wide placement compared to double wide if modular bypasses that. That's huge. Yeah, we're working with different banks on ensuring that whatever's created would have a program that would allow those loans. And I know the Cassie from First Fed said that they have a specialized program. She's on the Housing Solutions Committee, Market Rate Housing Solutions Committee, and she said that they had programs that were special for modular type homes. All right, so again, thank you, Bill, so much for the time you spent on this to present to us and your continued good work to try to help our employers find good employees and those individuals finding, homes to, be able to have a career in locally. So it's a huge need and so important to our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And I think we're going to call it a morning and give you your 15 minutes back.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.